Welcome to another edition of In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr. I'm James Lott Jr. We're gonna go in between the pages of this book. The last couple books I've read, I keep saying I keep using the same word. They are page turners. They are like you can't put them down. I'm telling you, I'm not even lying to you. This is the third book in a row that I seriously read it so fast because I was like, I want to see what happens next and what happens next and what's going on next, and it seems more outrageous and what's coming over here. And it's mixed up, and there's so many different relationships and twists and turns and how it ends. It's really, really good, folks. It's called I Become Her. So now, if you're watching me, no one's ready to go. It's right behind me on the screen. But I have the book in my hand too. I also have the advanced copy. There it is. You can't really see the thing, but I have it. And we're going to talk to the author, the mind that wrote this. He seems so mild-mannered. I'm telling you, it's kind of crazy. He's an Edgar Award winner and Wall Street Journal bestselling author of 17 novels. It's not his first novel, kids. He's written others. And he lives in Minnesota. We're just talking about the weather there. It's kind of crazy. And all that stuff. We have that in kind of people from Minnesota in the Midwest. That is the Midwest. That's Midwest. That's Midwest. Right. Yeah, that's right. It's the Midwest. And so this latest book, it's so good. And depending on when you're watching this, it's either on pre-sale or it's already sale. Where you find fine books, I go to Amazon. There you go. And when you read the book and get the book, make sure you rate it. Make sure you give the stars. And make sure you comment. It helps the book in the algorithms. If I never hear that word any time in my life, I'd be happy. But that's the whole thing. It's all about algorithms. You gotta do this. Yeah. But this book is really, really good. And his name is Joe Hart. Hi, Joe.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks again for having me on. It's always fun to just sit and talk a little bit. Authors don't usually, at least me anyways, I don't get to sit and talk with people very often. So
no, you don't. Because it's a solitary profession of sorts. A solitary art. You write for yourself. So let's start. Can you go between the pages? What's your writing methods? Does it change? How does it work from book to book? What was your writing method?
Yeah. So when I start off, it's all about a little bit about care, especially, well, this book, especially if we're talking about this one was so much about character. It was about a situation that I think a lot of women find themselves in, kind of running up against these different barriers in their life. So personal, societal, all these different things that they can run into that the guys don't have to deal with a lot of times. So I just started thinking about a character. I thought, okay, well, how could I encapsulate somebody who's run into all these kind of challenges and barriers from all these different, aspects of life, and how did it affect them? And what if they ran into, a challenging yet attractive, charismatic person who comes into their life, and they just kind of fall head over heels in love with this person, but then slowly start to wonder if they are who they think they are. And so you take some people have talked about the book saying that she's, Imogen, the main character, is an unreliable narrator, but I don't know if I'd classify her as that. Possibly. I usually leave all that up to the reader's, interpretation and whatnot. But that's where I started, especially with this book. And usually that's how I go. I think of a character, or sometimes a plot piece will kind of come in and hit me over the head. And it'll just kind of demand to be kind of followed and figure out where it's going and whatnot. But so as far as writing, that's how I start. I usually outline very loosely so I can kind of surprise myself along the way. I think that's really important for the creation process. I know some authors are very extremely detailed with their outlines. I'm not quite as detailed. I usually kind of I know where I'm going. If I can figure out the ending first, wonderful. That's usually like a huge plus. If I can figure out the ending, then I know where I'm driving to. And but yeah, surprising yourself along the way is really important. I'm at the point in my career where I want to really, really, really enjoy what I'm writing and having fun with it. I think that comes through in the pages. So when you're reading it, if the author is having fun and they're really kind of reveling in what they're doing, I think the reader is going to do that too. So that creation process has to be enticing and exciting for me to follow an idea down. I've written a couple books where it felt like pulling teeth. It's not necessarily to say those are bad books or that I'm not happy with them, how they turned out, but wow, it's sometimes it's a project. It's a project. So, but
Well, I
yeah.
ask you though, but that's the thing. So I've written books also, so I know how this goes
Mhm.
sometimes.
Mhm.
Where I think I know the ending, but then as
Mhm.
I'm writing it, it does change.
Yes. Yes.
Has that happened to you before? Has that happened?
It has. Yeah. I usually what I do, like I plant the flag at the end and say, this is where I want to end up. And this is generally what the ending is going to be. But yes, you're 100% right. Sometimes when you get there, things have subtly shifted a little and you go, okay, I have to account for all the things that now I've put behind me and coming up to it. But yeah, I think if you have that great, like kind of where that satisfying, I read one time, I can't remember who said it, but they said, the ending of a book should feel satisfying, but inevitable. And that's kind of generally where I kind of try to land with a lot of my endings, is that kind of that you feel like you've accomplished something, but also like this is definitely always where you were going to end up. And I think there is something satisfying about that. That's that feeling and stuff. So yeah, yeah,
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you a little bit because I read the book first. I always read my books. Everybody knows that I like to read them because I love reading. This is
yeah,
my chance to read books. I interview authors. I read the books.
yeah.
So okay, so folks, the 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 premise they're telling people, it's a lot going on in the book, but the premise they're telling me we have a newlywed couple, Imogen and Lev, and they're on a honeymoon cruise. Um, there's they're newly married. She's finding out stuff from his past. He goes overboard in quotes. Doesn't remember nothing, and this stuff starts going. And that's just like a loose whatever. But
Mhm.
I want to ask Joe this question because I read this book and I was like, I didn't like Imogen.
Okay.
I know she's kind of the well. I get why. Like, no, let me say. Let me ask you. So is she? She's the protagonist, right? She's the one
Hmm.
who's taking us through the story because she's
Yeah.
from beginning to end. But for some reason, I was like, I mean, Lev wasn't the greatest either, but I was like, but I
Hmm.
felt like you're right. I wasn't rooting for her as hard as much as I
Hmm.
wish I had. So it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. So you
Yeah.
said we're saying that she's the most reliable narrator. I kind of felt that. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, no, it's, and each, like I said, each reader's different. And I like that. I love that each person can come to the book and take something a little different. Some people will very much connect with certain aspects of the character, and other things they are not going to at all. I think that's just true about people in general and whatnot. So, I always try to make my characters, I try to just create people. I try not to think about them as characters. I try to think about them as people, if they're living, breathing people. And yeah, I think there's definitely aspects about Imogen that are not likable. I think there's many aspects that she doesn't like about herself. And that's one of the things, like her seeing her arc and her journey across kind of where she comes from and where she ends up. Uh, yeah, I think there are things that she is not happy with and would love to change about herself. And that's kind of that was part of the intriguing and appealing aspects of that character for me, was kind of following her and seeing what's she gonna leave behind and what's she gonna keep, and what is going to be the outcome of her actions now getting there. So yeah, yeah,
Well, also because it's also one of those things. How well do you know somebody?
yeah.
You can be with somebody for 4 or 5 years and
Yep.
still like not really know everything. I mean, if
Right.
they're choosing to keep things secret, and also there's some things do you need to know everything? In this
Right.
case, which kind of dug stuff up. It's almost
Yes.
like, well, girl, you should have left it
Yeah.
alone. I mean,
Right.
isn't that funny how
Right.
I was feeling a little bit like, well, girl, that's your fault, girlfriend, because you decided to do this and contact that
Yep.
person. I don't give away too much. I want people to read the book. But you see what I'm
Yep.
saying? It's kind of like I was
Hmm.
questioning her actions throughout the book. Isn't that
Yep.
crazy?
Yep. No, it's great. I think it's very much like person to person, because that's the thing is, there's certain types of people that absolutely, like you said, they would just leave well enough alone. They can set things aside. And this book is very much exact. You nailed it. It's a book about how well you know somebody else, especially the person that's closest to you.
Yes.
That's the central tenet of the book. And this is a book about marriage and about trust and secrets, and how much can you trust somebody with how well you know them. And um, yeah, it's I think there's a line that most people, a lot of people, like you said, if you don't want to know something or you don't think you can handle knowing something, you just stop and you don't go past that line. And this is very much a story about somebody that they have to know. They have to go past that line. They have to keep figuring it out to understand it. And yeah, it's kind of fun watching where it leads to, where she ends up. So
Well, yeah. Oh, okay. We're not give that. We're not give that away at all. But folks, it's a doozy.
yeah,
I did not expect the ending that we got. I did not expect that. I know it was. I know it was.
good,
Going there. I was. That
good,
was good.
good,
That's a good thing. I'm glad. I
good.
want everybody to know. I really enjoyed this book. The 346 pages. I enjoyed it. I'm saying when we were getting there, I was like, oh, we're going that way. But it actually it made sense on some
Hmm.
level. It did.
Hmm.
It did on
Hmm.
some level. But let me ask you. So as we're going in between the pages, um, do you have to? Do you like Imogen,
Um,
or is that a?
I no, I do like Imogen to an extent. I think I felt bad for her more than anything. I did feel sorry for her in a lot of ways. Um, I've said before, it's like I think to be a writer, you have to like equally love and hate human beings in general, like to create believable characters. People are capable of unbelievable kindness that just makes you just be just it just brings you to your knees as far as like the something that people could do, the sacrifice they can make for another person. And then they're also capable of just depravity, just terrible, terrible things. Um, so it was a little bit of both for Imogen. I felt sorry for her, and I wished that she would empower herself, and that's where I ultimately wanted her to get to. I wanted her to be the person that she always wanted to be. So it's yeah, the book, like you said, it's about can you know somebody, and then it's also about can you know yourself? Do you know who you really are and who you want to be? And that I think that's a tough question for a lot of people. Are they happy with who they are? Would they rather be somebody else or somebody better? And yeah, that's yeah. I liked Imogen, but I felt bad for her. But I wanted her to change too. I wanted her to become who she was meant to be. So yeah.
And how easy or hard was it to write Lev? Because
Uh,
he's automatically the antagonist, right? He's automatically the guy
right.
that we're butting up against and finding things out
Yeah.
about him.
Yeah, yeah. Lev was interesting. He was really fun to write, I will
Okay,
say. He
okay,
was fun to write.
I can see
Yes.
that. Yeah,
Yes. He was I find that sometimes about side characters where it feels like you can be a little more free flowing sometimes with side characters. Or even the antagonist or the potential antagonist. Yeah, he was fun to write. Again, it's diving into, whether somebody is wholly bad or good or somewhere in between. And Lev was an interesting kind of he was an enigma. I wanted him to be an enigma the entire book, and that he's at the center, of Imogen wondering if she can trust him. Can I trust this person? I love this person. Can I trust them? And those are, I think, two very, very separate things. So yeah,
yes. Oh, yes, they are. I know, but I'd like.
yeah,
I can see that, but because with him, you have the freedom to create whatever you want. His backstory is you can do whatever you want with him.
yeah,
She's the
yep,
reactor. She's the reactor of, and she's the person we're following. She's
yep,
walking us through the journey,
yep,
right?
right,
And
right,
so it makes sense that any other characters coming in, she's all reactionary to all that stuff.
yeah, yep,
And
yep,
it's interesting because you have their relationship, and then it's him, his past,
hmm,
her, his past.
yeah,
It all
yep,
intertwines. It's
yeah,
all twisty, and it's. And like I said, at first, it's like your book reads like to me. Sorry, I see what I say. For me, it read like layers, like
hmm,
plateaus.
yeah,
So we had this for a few episodes. I'm already speaking. I want it to be a TV show, folks. I already told them this before the camera. I want Apple Plus or Hulu or something. And I can see these episodes. But I
yeah,
meant to say it was chapters. It was
hmm,
like there was a few chapters is this, and then oh, and then a few chapters is this, and then oh, and then oh, and I have to mention, folks, the clever titles for the chapters are the names of the characters.
hmm, hmm,
So I can ask this because of that's very, I've never seen it before in any book. So that's
Okay.
genius. So what was your decision behind that? I just want to hear that quick story.
Yeah, I just felt like it was, uh, especially when we're following the different characters, where it's very much Imogen to begin with, and
Yes.
then we have our other character Sierra come onto the scene, and then I wanted it to feel very much like it's this kind of quickening as you get further and further into the book. You're slowly learning about Sierra, who she is, her past, and different things. Some of it from Imogen's perspective, and some of it from Sierra's perspective. And it's this, yeah. I wanted it to kind of just start off as very like kind of intriguing, like, well, who is this other character in the book? We don't know anything about this person. We're getting a general sense of them, but as the book goes on, then it's drawing you deeper and deeper into Sierra's world. And by like the 3/4 point, then it's almost kind of flipping back and forth. So I just felt like it was very much a pacing thing. So that's kind of why I chose the character as chapters, headings, that type of thing. Is as we got further into the book, it became a pacing thing where you're pretty soon you're leaping back and forth from these people, and you're wondering how they are going to intertwine eventually. So yeah.
To me, there are two openings. So the book opens. I'm going to, with his permission, read. This is his
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
It opens with Sierra.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who that? Because I read the back of the book. Because I read the back of the book. It was like Imogen. And I'm like, who's Sierra? It opens with. Sometimes I ask myself where it started. So already I'm immediately in. I'm like, okay, we're getting something set up. When I'm feeling especially low or missing something from before, I try pinpointing what was the first thing, the first mistake that changed everything. Then the next page, you're like, okay. Then we got Imogen. I'm like, okay. And her beginning says, oh my God, my reading glasses. Oh, okay. I woke to darkness and a sickening swaying that was either in my head or the entire room. Opening my eyes, I knew it could be either. I was in. I was like, you set up to me, it's two openings. And so I'm like, but then you go into, so we don't even get to see her until a little later. So like, I'm going, where's that chick? What's going on? Like, at first it was like, we got a piece. So what's the decision to not to start off with Imogen first and first? That would have been a great first opening also. Decided to do a page of Sierra first.
I feel like how important Sierra was to the ending was important to open with her. And I feel like I love books that when you get to the end and you can start going back, books or movies, you get to the ending and you can start going back and you can start saying, here's a touchstone, here's this, here's that, and you can start pulling those things through. And whether you consciously or subconsciously do it, I think readers are really smart. You're either going to see these things and remember them when you get to the end, or I think there's a part of you that you absorbed it, and whether you can point out these things, it's going to resonate anyways at the end. So that was my thinking of starting with Sierra and saying, how important she was to the ending. I felt like we have to give her a little bit of a foot in the door and kind of an opening at the very beginning. So yeah.
No, I thought it was I didn't expect that because I'm like, oh, so who's that? We're reading it. I'm like, oh, the next page. Oh, I'm like, oh, okay. And then when you go into it, obviously it's the honeymoon cruise. So it's like it's talking about swaying, especially on cruises. I understand what that means. And I remember my first cruise side, just a little side note. My first cruise, I remember when I went to lay down, I didn't know how to rest my eyes. That wasn't. I think I've learned that, but I'm a big boater, so I do all that stuff now. But but when I first started, I was like, I know it depends on what position of the boat you're on, what level and stuff. But I didn't pick where we were staying. So our cabin was somewhere where my eyes were like rolling around a little bit. It took me a second the first couple of nights.
Yeah, I bet.
And I got used to it. But I love boating. I love being on boats. I love boating and everything. There is some. I just gotta warn people. Just let people know. Not a lot, but there's some strong words in here. And that's what you know that. So I always want to ask you about that because I still think. I mean, this is for adults, or later, maybe say 17, 18 above. But
Mhm.
I'm just saying, how important is that choice to watch what words you use?
I think it's incredibly important to think about the impact that obviously just in general your words can have, but specific words. And I would say like any words that like swear words or things like that or explicit language, I feel like it has to match the moment. So if you have a moment in the book, if you have a really powerful character moment, I know me personally, I mean, it's like I know I swear too much, but like it's I think I read a study a while ago. They said people who swear they're more intelligent or something, and it's like well
Smart. I'm really
I'm gonna
smart.
I'm gonna I'm gonna go with that. So smart people. Um, but yeah, I feel like as far as in stories and stuff, it definitely has to match the moment. I get pulled out of either a book or a movie if the character is acting over the top or erratically, and it is if it doesn't feel like it's dovetailed nicely with the moment, then it pulls me out. If it feels like I would say that in that moment, then I'm in. So that's what I try to do with my scenes and whatnot. Yeah.
I do want to read this. This is pretty cool. This is beginning of the whole thing. This is his writing. In my dreams, there is a woman unhindered by jealousy and insecurities. She is vibrant and free. She knows what she wants and takes it without apology. She no longer waits for words she'll never hear. She understands love is always conditional. She has a strong enough, she has been strong enough to endure what she didn't deserve, and stronger still to cast it off and leave it behind. She is everything I've ever wanted to be. And in my dreams, I become her. What's funny is that whole paragraph is contradictory in a beautiful way. It's what
Hmm.
we are. And that's
Hmm.
that's that I become her, I become him, I become whatever. It's us.
Hmm.
We're
Right.
I read that, I go, there's several, and it represents the whole story, folks. It represents this whole
Hmm.
book.
Yeah.
And I just thought what she says, she's unhindered by jealousy and insecurity, but there's things there's a whole back in there.
Hmm.
Um, she knows she wants to take without apology, but there's obviously in the next sentence, she no longer waits for words she'll never hear. I mean, she is waiting for those words on some level.
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
almost defeatist, like I know I'll just never get them.
Yep.
But when she says love is always conditional, that's sad. That's sad,
Yeah.
sad
Yeah. Yep.
sentence.
Yes. It is. It is. I feel like there's, you know, some of those painful truths sometimes is like if I can reach down and grab some of those and put them on the page here and there, that kind of a little bit of a gut punch. And again, it's connecting with the right person. It's there's certain people that will I think will very much resonate with, which is like you said, it's kind of sad. We want love to be unconditional, but unfortunately, I feel like being the broken species that we are, a lot of these things are conditional, and it takes very much a special person to just wholly give over, to somebody else without wanting something back or needing something in return. So yeah, I appreciate what you said. Those are kind words because and I'm glad that a lot of that stuff came through because that's exactly the whole purpose of that opening is the contradictory nature of human beings. It's all these things mixed up together. So yeah, yeah,
So I mean, you're married, correct?
I am. Yeah.
So you're writing about marriage,
Yes.
basically
Yeah.
dissolution of a marriage, of a new marriage.
Yes. Yes.
So how does that? I mean, obviously, like I said, you're an artist, so you create, you paint something. It doesn't mean you have to live it or whatever. Obviously, you're not living it. But I mean,
Yeah.
how does that work for you? I mean, it's like when you're writing something that's so destructive,
Hmm.
how do you keep that compartmentalize that from just your own life? Because we get that's not for us. We're actors, singers, songwriters. We feel you're feeling. This is you. You're right. I
Yeah.
mean, you know what I mean. This is you
Yeah.
writing this story. It's coming. You're giving birth to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you
Yeah.
keep that? How do you keep that away from like you go to your wife, you love her, you have no secret. You know,
Yeah.
how do you do
Yeah.
that? It's like, how do you do that?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a great question because I think that's the struggle, like you said, with any person who creates is there's that side of you that you have to sit down. When you sit down in the chair to create, you turn that on, and sometimes, upsetting or discomforting things inside you that you put on the page or the canvas or whatever on, onto the, music, whatever you're creating. But I think that's very healthy. It's very good if you can access those things. So I took different things from our relationship, little things, and kind of blew them up sometimes. You have some of
Oh,
those, like,
yeah.
you have some of those nothing fights sometimes with your
Yes.
with your spouse,
Yes.
but
Yes.
significant other, and then all of a sudden you think, well, there's a little kernel there of something, and not only is it relatable as somebody who's be like, I've had that fight with my husband or wife, but you can also take and make a little bit of a sinister turn on it and say, okay, well, is there something behind why somebody would say that or do that? Um, Usually they're innocuous or you're just emotional when you're having an argument with somebody. But I did a little bit of that with, bringing some of those things that are recognizable, but then putting just a slight bent on the conversation where you start to go, well, is there something behind that? Is there something that I should be reading between the lines that my partner said to me? And that's very much Imogen's point of view. Is she's very little paranoid, a little bit borderline on paranoia. Doesn't want to be that way, but so that's I gathered a little bit of that from real life. You think back about different relationship things and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's very good. It's very healthy and natural to kind of take and dip into a little bit of those things that maybe subconscious and unconscious thoughts that you have from time to time, and then you can kind of pull them out and put them on the page. And if they dovetail and they work for the story, then I think that's great. It's a little bit of a relief valve, to some extent. I think that artists are able to kind of use that a lot of people maybe don't have access to. And it potentially, it can be, maybe a negative thing in their life if they don't have a way to, kind of get some of this stuff out. But I think artists have it's very much like a nice way to kind of relieve some of these things, these thoughts and these emotions in the back of their head. And you can kind of put it on the page. Not that I haven't gotten looks from my wife sometimes for like things I've written. She'll read it and she'll be like, okay, we're not going to discuss that. I'd be like, that's fine. It's what did was it good? Yeah, it was fine. Sometimes, so yeah,
Shout
yeah,
out to her. She's great. Shout out to
yeah.
her. She's like,
She is. She's
put up with
wonderful.
your stuff.
So
Put up
yeah,
with your writing adventures, your
yeah,
shenanigans, your writing shenanigans.
yep,
But
yep.
no, but it's
Puts
true.
up with a lot. Yeah,
No, I agree with you. It's as artists, we're very fortunate that we can get an outlet. And you're right, taking something and maybe exploring it where in real life you would never want to do that. Be like, well,
right.
I'm writing, I can do that over here and see what happens. And where does it go?
Hmm.
And how's it
Yes.
feel? And yeah, I agree with that completely. That's us
Yep.
in here. So are there any aspects, because we always say this, most writers say this, what part of you is in here? Or any parts of
Um, yeah, let me think for a second here because yeah, I'm unconscious of that most times. I have some of my editors come back and they'll point out certain areas, especially if they're either, people that know me pretty well.
right?
They'll say, "Oh, you were writing about this that happened to you, or you're writing about your son or your daughter or, your
Oh,
wife." And it's like, "Oh," and then you got to step back from it a little bit and be like, "Oh, I guess yeah, you're right." I'm going to say some of Imogen's, yeah, maybe paranoia, or probably more accurately, is that insecurity that she feels, kind of the worry and the anxiety. I suffer from anxiety. I think it's very common. A lot of people do, even if they don't realize they have have anxiety, they suffer from it. And so I guess I tapped into that personally, some in some of those scenes where she's spiraling. She's thinking about things that she has no idea if they're true or real or going to happen or not. And what's the old saying is anxiety is worrying about the future, and depression is sometimes worrying about the past or the present. And it's some of those things. Put simply. So I think that's some of the things that I identified with for her was the anxious bound up feelings that you can get sometimes when you start to wonder if something's going to happen or if something bad's coming. So that's kind of what I tapped into, which is, I hope those scenes came across because it is kind of one of those uncomfortable moments where you dig down and put that on the page a little bit. So, so far I've gotten pretty good feedback from people who've mention that specific thing. It's like, oh yeah, that anxiety came through, and it's like,
I did.
yeah, that's yeah,
I
yeah.
did.
Hmm.
A couple things I want to ask you before we wrap up. This has been wonderful. Um, what is the Edgar Award, and what was it like winning that?
Yeah, yeah. So the Edgar is kind of the, I don't want to make it sound, pompous or anything, but it's kind of the top for the genre award for like mystery and
Okay.
just kind of suspense, mostly mystery. Um, so it's the Edgar Allan Poe Award, and since he was technically, the first
Yeah, I guess so.
mystery writer, the father of the mystery basically. And so yeah, the Edgar Awards are every year in New York. They do a whole kind of party and give the awards out and whatnot. So yeah, I got nominated for my novel Or Else a couple years back, and Or Else is one of my favorite books that I've ever written. It was one of those books. Like, it was on the opposite end of the spectrum as far as like we talked about, like books that are really hard to write and that just kind of like you got to wrestle it the whole way. Or Else was one of those books that just felt like it was beamed in, and I was just a channel for it, and it just kind of came out, and I felt really good about the book. And then for it to get nominated, I was just over the moon because I was like, that's amazing. It's like I was in there with I think four other nominees for my category for best paperback original, and I was like, some very talented people on the list, and I was like, this is wonderful. This is great. I don't need to win. I got nominated. This is amazing. So yeah, lo and behold, awards night came along. I wasn't able to go to New York, but I had one of my editors was there because there was a couple other people from our imprint nominated. And yeah, I got to watch the live stream. And Laura Littman, who's an amazing writer, she was the one that was giving away the award for my category. And I'm sitting there, and she said my name and my book, and I just sat there stunned for a second because I actually had to look at my wife. I said, "Did that just happen?" Because you're you're wondering if you like maybe just projected it.
Right,
You're like,
right.
"Oh yeah, they said my name, right?" No, they didn't. But yeah, so yeah, it was just an absolute thrill and an honor. It was amazing, the outpouring from the community and all these different people that reached out and said congratulations. And yeah, it's been awesome. It's such a, like I said, it's just such an honor seeing the other people that have been awarded that, and to know that apparently they thought I deserved to be among them. So it's awesome. It's really really fun. It's awesome. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a trip. We don't, we don't do this for awards. Obviously, we do it because we like
no,
doing it. And so to get nominated for something, it really is truly to get nominated. I've been nominated for. I've won a few things, not a lot, but a few things,
hmm
and I do
hmm
understand. It's kind of like, oh, okay,
yeah,
and folks, it really is. I know the cliche. It's nice to be nominated. A lot of times, it really is nice to be nominated. You just think,
it is.
wow,
It
because
is.
all the
Yeah.
because think about this, folks. Of the millions of books that are out, thousands of books that are out there, that yours got on the radar, and then some people who were voted, they
hmm
picked it, said that one.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
It's that special feeling, that it's like somebody noticed something that you did and thought it was good, and yeah, it's that nice feeling. It's like you said, it's to be recognized, and you're right. We don't do this for that, but it is one of those things that's every so often, if you're lucky, it comes along, and yeah, you just enjoy it because it's an honor. So yeah, it was very cool, very cool.
well, you should feel proud for this book too,
Yeah,
Joe. It's very
thank
really
you.
it's well done, and it's funny because I guess I ask this sometimes as I end the show. I'm like sequel, prequel, side character, but spinoff. But I'm like, this is kind of a prequel and a present day. It's like it's both.
Hmm.
If
Yeah.
you're learning the
Yes.
past, and so I guess I don't think. I mean, anything. I know you're just releasing. I know you're releasing this, but most authors are working on their next thing already. Is
Yeah.
there anything more coming from this at all, or are you just are this right now put to bed right now and that's it?
Yeah, I think it's done. It depends again. Like, I mean, it always depends on the level of success and how readers react to it. If somebody wants to know more, I think there is more of the story potentially after the book ends.
Oh,
I
okay.
always, you know, I always like to leave that for the reader too, because I like the reader to just sit and say, "Well, I think this happened then," or this had to have happened. then. And it's like that's great if you can, the reader can sit and think about that after the book, because I love that when I close a book. There's that feeling, you get a little bit of the book hangover, and you're thinking about the characters afterwards, and it's like then you've read something worthwhile, that had a little bit of substance to it, and it kind of lingered with you. So yeah, there's more to this story, I think,
I
and
think so.
there could be something. Yeah, so I guess we'll see. Yeah.
JoeHartBooks.com. That's HART as in Hart. Instagram, Joe_Hart_author. Facebook, Joe Hart Author. Make sure you follow him in those places. The book, like I said, whether you're watching it now before it's out, it's available for pre-sale. Go ahead and do that, or get it. If it's not already, go get it. It's called I Become Her, a thriller. It really is a thriller, folks. Like, not joking. Thanks, Joe Hart, for being on the show.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Great questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're welcome to come back with your next books. Any books you have coming out, you have an invitation back on the show.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, folks, I always end this with, support the arts. We do not ban books. We don't believe in that here. We believe in everyone having the freedom to read what they want to read and write what they want to write. There are a lot of authors out there that are not super famous who have amazing stories. That's what I do here on this show. I've been doing this show for almost 10 years. That's kind of the reason why I do this show, because I support authors and people who are writers. It's everybody thinks they can do it, and many people can do it, but it is a discipline, and it is a world. And for many writers who are just unsung out there, who have amazing stories they're telling, like this one. So please support the arts, and again, any kind of arts, whether it's painting, dancing, music, it's acting, whatever it is, even hosting, things that I do hosting. Support. They say it's good. It's good in schools. My grandkids went to art-based schools, and it made them smarter in English and math and science and history. It's been shown. And books are a world. They're not going anywhere, whether it's Audible or Kindle or paperback or hardback. They're not going anywhere. They take you to other worlds. And many times in the world we're in today, I want to go somewhere else.
Yep.
So that's what books take you to do that. I'm James Lott Jr., and we will talk to you next Thursday with another edition of In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr.